What's good, Stoner fam? It's your man Adam from the Joint Talk podcast, and today we have a very, very special episode. We have our first podcast guest, and we actually have the CEO of Trojan Horse Cannabis, Chirs Fontes, coming on to talk and speak about his new products. So we're actually going to go ahead and get him on in the room, and we'll go ahead and get started. Can you hear me okay, Chris?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just good.
Great. How's it going?
Going pretty good. How are you doing yourself?
Good. I don't know that I ever actually caught your name. What was your name again? I'm sorry.
My name's Adam.
Adam. Oh, that's right. No, I did catch your name. I'm just a horrible human being. I apologize.
Oh, trust me, I'm bad with names as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with me today.
It was kind of crazy. I came across the Instagram page, and I review a lot of CBD Delta-8 products and stuff like that. So I'm real in tune with the market and everything. So I came across your page and everything. I'm like, okay, here's another hemp company. I'm gonna look at them and kind of see what they're about. Well, I'm scrolling down the Instagram feed, and I'm reading the caption. I'm like, Delta-8 THC. Shipped to all 50 states. Wait a minute, time out.
Yeah.
Time out. And I instantly, my curiosity just went through the roof. I had to find everything I could out about it.
Awesome.
And I actually got some questions here because I didn't want to forget my questions, and I didn't want to get off on a tangent and forget. So yeah, just tell me more about the company. When did you start the company?
Great question. So we started originally over a year ago now, and our primary brand at that time when we launched was Project Hemp Flower. So we're the same company that owns and runs Project Hemp Flower still today, and that company is an e-commerce marketplace for farmers to sell their product to consumer, and we brand the farm. We do full panel COAs, and we do smoke tests to make sure it's cured well, and our consumers get the benefit of having some curation. The farmers get the benefit of us running e-commerce for them because it's for a lot of them, they just don't have time.
Yeah.
So we did that a while ago, but we had this idea actually 3 years ago. I previously had ran the Hemp Exchange, and in that business, we did a bunch of B2B supply chain solution stuff and ran a marketplace. And at the time, I really had to understand the regulatory framework and actually did some speaking at conferences on both the supply chain and regulations. And immediately, when the 2018 Farm Bill was signed, I recognized the opportunity for this product, but didn't really want to push it that hard because it seemed at the time it would have influenced the hemp industry in a very negative way to promote this type of product.
Yeah, you definitely would have changed. You would definitely changed the game with that. That would have.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had it put in our back pocket and just sort of sat on it for a while. And
how did that feel?
What's that?
So how did that feel to be sitting on it's a really good idea. It's something that's gonna take off, but you what, I'm gonna just sit on this in my pocket and just hold on to that.
So it's not actually that unique of a problem that I deal with all the time. I'm always seeing little things where I'm like, oh man, that's a game changer. I'm gonna put that in my back pocket too. So this is one of several in the deck, if you will.
Okay.
And in fact, it's what I have to do is filter them out and just focus on one at a time, because otherwise I spread too thin and try to do too much. But
yep.
But when Delta-8 hit the scene as hard as it did and just took off like wildfire, it sort of broke the seal for, look, anything I produce now is not going to be scrutinized as heavily with Delta-8 being what Delta-8 is.
Yeah.
So we figured timing was right to move forward with it. And Trojan Horse Cannabis proper, we started R&D back in conceptually in August.
Okay.
Started trying to line up legal opinions and get lawyers involved around October, get an R&D batch done before. We originally wanted to launch January 1st, which was way too optimistic. So we didn't really have a product to sell or to show anyone until late March, early April. So we're still pretty new to
Yeah,
actually
still
having a
fresh.
product for distribution.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's still pretty fresh. That's really fresh.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, you was right though. Delta-8, it definitely caught the industry by surprise.
Yeah, uh-huh.
When I did my own research into it, I discovered that wow, okay, Delta-8 is something that's been known about for a while now. You know,
Uh-huh.
it's naturally occurring in the plant. It's just in small amounts to where it's not even, worth to extract. Now, I've
Yeah,
reviewed a lot of Delta-8 products because see, I live in a state where cannabis isn't legal. So, the
right,
closest thing we got is CBD and then the Delta-8 and, whatever you can get on the street. But
right.
Delta-8 took, I took a nice interest in that because it's like, okay, there's a nice legal loophole here that people are exploiting. And, because it's a legal loophole and there's a gray area, there's not too much information out there on it.
Right.
Now, I was reading some of the captions on the Instagram page, and it gave me a lot of insight that I didn't even have. I didn't even have when I was, all the time I've been reviewing a lot of these products. And I guess my next question is, um, so can you tell me more about the process on how they're getting the Delta-8? Like I've seen a lot of different reports, a lot of articles, a lot of different things, but I haven't heard anything absolute.
About how Delta-8's created?
Yeah, like I hear it's lab made, but then at the same time I hear it's also a naturally occurring cannabinoid in the plant. So it's like, that's kind of,
It's a little contradictory, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so the long and the short of it is, like you said already, Delta-8 is a naturally occurring cannabinoid in some cultivars in trace amounts.
Yeah.
The problem is it's in so low quantity and it's so rare that it's not really worth the time or effort to extract it from the plant.
Mm-hmm.
But what some chemists have figured out is that you can use CBD and turn CBD into Delta-8.
So they're literally converting it.
It's literally converted. Every Delta-8
Wow.
product on the market right now is converted from CBD, and they do so there's a bunch of different SOPs or methods to do it. But the most general one is the probably used SOP is some form of chemical reagent and heat. And you apply both those at various times and temperatures to literally change the molecule. It goes from CBD to Delta-9, then to Delta-8. And
Whoa.
it goes through Delta-9 to get to Delta-8.
Whoa, time out, time out. Whoa, whoa, don't mean to interrupt you. Whoa.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
That just poked a hole in my entire theory of what I was thinking Delta-8 really was. See, the way these products are marketed, no shade to any of these brands and companies
Sure.
that sell these products, but it's like the way they're marketed like, okay, we're taking the Delta-8 that's naturally occurring in it and we're extracting that out the plant and we're making all our products with it. And
No.
like you said, it's really contradictory. So it's like, okay, so which one is it? Is it lab made or you're extracting it? But I guess we see now.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single company out there that's extracting it. I mean, I have pretty good visibility into the industry and companies making this products. And if there's any company out there that contradicts and says, hey, this guy's wrong, we're definitely extracting it, I'd love to talk to him because I've never heard of it. I know one large entity had worked on a method to pseudo extract it in large quantities, but it just wasn't financially viable. The cost was way too high. It didn't make sense. You couldn't bring a product to market that would be worth the cost of doing the extraction.
Right.
So I don't think I would be shocked to find out that anyone's extracting it because everyone I talk to, it's all created.
Yeah. Wow, that is crazy. CBD to Delta-9 and then into Delta-8. That is crazy.
Yeah, and part of the problem with Delta-8 too that people don't realize is when you're getting your full panel tests or your potency test specifically on a hemp product or any cannabis product, the HPLC or a GC gives you out this little graph, and it shows you different spikes, and they've categorized each spike as a particular cannabinoid based on research we have.
Okay.
But part of the problem is that the Delta-8 and the Delta-9 spike are part of the same mountain, if you will.
Pretty identical.
Yeah, they're in each other almost. And so a lot of labs don't really have the ability to properly or accurately separate what's a Delta-9 spike versus what's a Delta-8 spike.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you get a lot of false lab reports that'll show 95% Delta-8 when really it's like 30% Delta-9, 60% Delta-8. And that isn't a huge deal of in-process materials. This is sort of common in across all hemp, that you have hot distillate while it's in process.
Yeah.
But the problem is if you're formulating a gummy or a vape cartridge, or you're spraying it on flower, and you're relying on those numbers to make a legal product, but those numbers are wrong, you end up oftentimes with a product that has more than 0.3% Delta-9 in the end product accidentally. And now you're dealing with basically marijuana, according to the legal framework anyway. And that's problematic for consumers. It's risky for retailers, and it's risky for consumers because of law enforcement issues.
Yeah, very risky.
Yeah. So additionally, another concern that we personally have with Delta-8, which again, not like you said, not throwing shade at any Delta-8 companies here. I respect what's happening, and I do think there's a lot of valid use for Delta-8. But one concern that we had, why we didn't get into it, is during this process of isomerizing Delta-8 from CBD, hundreds of other cannabinoids and isomers of those cannabinoids are created in the process. We don't know what those are, and we don't know what they do. And so everyone's getting these trace amounts of unknown isomers that we just don't know anything about. And they're probably fine, but I don't like building a business on probably myself.
The unknown.
As a consumer, I'm a little more risk friendly. I'm happy to try things as a consumer, but I don't feel comfortable selling that product to consumers myself. Additionally, a lot of full panels don't test for the chemical reagent that's used to create it. So not that people are using bleach, but if you use bleach to make Delta-8 and then you don't test for bleach, you have a clean product on paper, but you don't actually have a clean product because there's bleach in it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a common problem. And there's a lot of great companies out there that really refine their process to eliminate those reagents. They test for them, and they good SOPs to make sure the Delta-9 levels are okay, and they clean it out really well. And those do exist, but they're few and far between. There's too many people in the game right now that just they don't care if it's dirty, they don't care what it is, they just want to sell it, and they're happy to make money. And so that's just a concern we have with Delta-8 in general.
Definitely. Wow, that is really crazy just to hear, because it's like, I, as a consumer and a person that, I'm like, in a way, like I'm mainly like a consumer, but at the same time, I also kind of see behind the veil of certain things in the industry. So it kind of puts me in a tough position for me promoting these products and, telling my community or the cannabis community about these products. And it's like, I got to give it to them straight. I got to tell them like it is, got to give them the truth.
Yeah.
Me trying a lot of these Delta-8 products, I've always seen many different, different test analysis and panels and stuff like that. And it's like, it's really kind of tough to, after what you just told me, it's really kind of tough to even decide if, any of these products are actually any good.
Yeah.
It's like, for all we know, the numbers is incorrect, and, it's really tough. It is. It's really.
It is, and it's not fair to consumers to practically require a college level education on purchasing products.
Right.
A lot of people are like, well, it's on the consumers to read the panels. I'm like, but it shouldn't be. Yeah. We should provide the panels for consumers that want to know, but we shouldn't have to put that on the consumer. It should be the businesses that are responsible to make a clean and safe product.
Correct.
And in the lack of FDA regulatory authority in the space right now, it's just sort of the Wild West, and it's not really fair. You know?
It's not really fair at all. Because see, when I came across Delta-8 around last year when the quarantine was just in, fortunately enough, when I was starting the podcast, I had a lot of people give me a lot of shade for siding with the Delta-8, promoting it and everything. And I defended Delta-8 on many occasions. Behind the simple fact that, it is a real naturally occurring cannabinoid. See, a lot of people think that it's fake. Now, what you just explained to me is that it's not necessarily fake, but what's out there in the market technically is fake.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
And something to highlight that you just said that I didn't mention before. The isomer, which is an isomer, is how the compound is connected together, right? The shape.
yeah.
The isomer of Delta-8 that's on the market today is not the same isomer that the plant makes.
Okay.
And that's an important distinction. So you could say the Delta-8 compound is naturally occurring, but the Delta-8 compound that people are consuming is not the same isomer. And two compounds of the same isomer don't necessarily have the same levels of safety. In fact, there was a really famous instance of this in the United States, I think in the 20s. There's a product called thalidomide that a pharmaceutical company had basically created, and it was anti-nausea for pregnant women for morning sickness. And one isomer of thalidomide was safe and very effective. The other caused birth defects.
Oh, wow.
And the same compound, but just a different isomer, and one was very dangerous and one wasn't. And we ended up having several individuals born with pretty significant defects, like flippers for hands attached to the shoulder.
Oh, wow.
No feet or legs below the waist, just flippers for feet attached at the waist. Really, really bad stuff.
Yeah, really bad.
And I'm not saying I'm not a big fear monger, or I'm not trying to like put out a fear campaign about Delta-8, but
it is stuff that the consumers do need to know.
Yeah, you need to understand the risks. And the reality is, if you said, hey, Chris, bet $1 million, is Delta-8 on the market safe or not? It's probably safe. It probably is. But people should know so they can make their own risk assessment and their own judgment call on whether they should consume it or not, and not just be told, oh, people have been ingesting Delta-8 for centuries because it's in the plant. Well, they haven't, because this is a different isomer completely.
Because I've been consuming Delta-8 myself for a whole year now. Products, and it's like, for the most part, they've all pretty much been the same. And then, not to name any names, but there's like, for the most part, there's like one manufacturer that's pretty much supplying the majority of the brands that's out there. So it's like all the products is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so for the most part, you can pretty much deduce that, okay, they're all possibly safe because they're all from the same source anyway. And then it's like, okay, now what is that particular source doing to extract their process? And it's like the analysis does not explain it very, very well.
Right. Yeah, there's generally a real lack of education for consumers and transparency about what companies are doing. And so that's why, personally, I appreciate folks like you that are doing the legwork. You could say you're an influencer, or you could say you're a podcaster, but really it's practically journalism, right? You're investigating, you're digging in, you're figuring stuff out, and then you're providing that information in a manner that your followers can read and learn and listen and understand to make decisions.
It's crazy that you say that, because like this started off as a podcast. As I started digging deeper and finding my little niche, where I fit in. It's like, like you said, it's like journalism. Like that's what I do. I do a lot of research on certain things that people come to me and want to know about. A lot of people respect all the research that I do into certain things. And that's kind of like where the platform's taking a spin. It's went from a podcast to more like a media outlet almost.
Yeah.
And I still call it a podcast. I'm still doing it in podcast form, and I kind of just run with it.
Yeah. Well, hats off to you, and appreciate you and folks like you in the industry that are helping educate consumers. It's needed, because there's also a problem with as a producer and a seller of this material, there are things that I can't say on record because it violates FDA law. I can't talk about any medical claims or medical efficacy or what this product might do for you to help you with various conditions. We can't talk about any of that or even indicate that it might help some people in some situations because we are in fear of getting shut down. We make a claim like that and the FDA can put us out of business overnight. So it's folks like you that are spreading that information that support businesses like us, because we can't. You can say what we can't say.
Yeah. And it's like, and at the same time, I also come and I let my followers and everything know, like, everything that I'm saying is my experience, because I'm trying these products and then I'm telling people about it. I say, you can't take what I'm saying as 100%. You got to just take it with a grain of salt and just know that it's from my own personal experience using them. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to probably experience these products maybe in a similar way, but it's not going to be the exact same as the way I'm experiencing it. And like you
Right.
said, the FDA, you can't just put that in. Even though I'm not technically a business yet, but I still can't push that narrative out there as well.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
you gotta give certain disclosures, but
Yeah. Uh-huh.
at the same time, still provide the information, the education.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Because a
So
lot
man,
of people,
thanks for all you do.
because the most common message and email that I get is, well, what does Delta-8 do? Does it get you high? Is it
Yeah.
like CBD? And it's like, you know, I've had some that's gotten me higher than others, but now after talking to you, I realized that of course I get higher than some other ones because it's like some other ones might have a higher Delta-9 THC content in it that I did not know about.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
in terms of talking about, I've talked about the quality of certain products, and it's like, well, now my standard of quality might just be a little wrong, seeing as there was the whole cannabinoid I didn't realize influencing the whole thing.
Yeah, and to that point, I sat in on the Oregon Liquor Control Commission committee meeting, and the one of the talking points of the meeting was Delta-8's out there. We don't have the authority to do anything about it, but it's not safe. So what do we do? And a couple of stakeholders that were interested in public safety had purchased random Delta-8 products and had it tested at a facility that's very experienced in differentiating between Delta-8 and Delta-9. And what they found was products like gummies that claimed 25 milligrams Delta-8, often it was like, 10 milligrams Delta-8, 15 milligrams Delta-9.
Wow.
Or 7 milligrams Delta-9 and whatever the remainder would be, Delta-8, and varying ratios all over the place with no real consistency. And something like 90+% of the products they tried were mislabeled for cannabinoid potency because of the inability to distinguish between Delta-8 and Delta-9. So your concept of having some products that are dosed the same but having significantly different impact on psychoactivity makes sense because you're getting actually different products.
Yeah, you're getting a whole different product completely.
Yeah.
And, I've seen in the news like here recently, like a lot of states are banning it. A lot of people are out against it. And I just, me being on the outside right there at that point, it's like, dang, I'm standing back on the sidelines, like what's going wrong here? Like I've tried all these products, I've gave it my stamp of approval. Like I'm like, damn, what is going on here? Why is so many people in it? Like people that's in the industry though, like different actual legit dispensaries in legal states, they're all against it. Like
Yeah.
in New York, in Colorado, I believe you can't even buy it there. And it's completely, cannabis is completely legal. I said, man, what is going on here?
So I got my own opinions there. From the state committee hearings that I've been a fly on the wall in, mostly what's talked about is the safety issue, the unknown isomers, no testing, no human history of consumption of this isomer, and bad safety panels and mislabeled cannabinoid potencies. That's mostly what's that?
Those are very valid concerns as well.
Yeah, and the majority of the concerns in these meetings are that. There is some truth though to in recreationally legal states, big marijuana is very frustrated with the Delta-8 phenomenon because to be a marijuana producer or seller, there are a lot of hoops to jump through. The licenses are very expensive. The taxes are very high. Because of the 280E, they can't claim deductions when they pay taxes. There's all kinds of difficulties. And the Delta-8 industry sidesteps all of that. So marijuana is like, what the hell? How come this other company with this other product can get away with this stuff and we can't? And so they push to shut it down because it's stealing market share out of their pockets. And truthfully, it isn't fair. I don't think the fix is to ban Delta-8. I think the fix is to fix it not being so restrictive on marijuana companies because it's unfair to them. But it is a problem, and I do kind of understand the marijuana companies' point there. But from a state's perspective, I'm sure there's lobbying involved that influences that from the marijuana industry, but mostly it's safety concerns that gets brought up.
Correct. But like you just said, it's still in market share because, like I said, I live in Louisville, Kentucky. Like I don't see cannabis getting legalized here anytime soon because the current political climate. But it's like, that is exactly what's happening. I can't get my hands on good dispensary grade cannabis and those type of products, but there's Delta-8. I can get it right here in the different smoke shops and stuff that's around the city. And it's like, oh, it's legal. It gets me a little buzz. And for majority of cannabis consumers, that's all they care about is,
Yeah.
does it give me the buzz just like normal, normal weed would?
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. Like, oh, normal weed, and it's like it's all weed.
Yeah.
It's all cannabis.
Yeah, that's a great point too. People often don't understand that hemp is cannabis.
Yes.
And a lot of people call hemp and marijuana cannabis, and they'll be like, oh, well, that's not cannabis, that's hemp. And it's like, no, it's all the same plant. And another thing people don't realize is that 20 years ago, most cannabis plants that were grown and on the gray market, or the traditional market, if you will, had a good balanced profile of THC and CBD, and sometimes some of the other minors in there, CBDV and CBC, etc. And when the legal market kicked in, some bad business practices jumped in and assumed, hey, the higher the THC, the more people will pay. Or I got, if everything's 15% THC and I make something that's 20% THC, I'll steal market share from the other company I'm competing with. And so there suddenly became this race to spike the THC percent through the roof. And now that's why people assume high THC means weed and low THC means something, it's not weed anymore.
Yeah.
But the reality is, what I call type 2, there's type 1 flower, which is high THC, practically no CBD. Type 3, which is what people would call hemp flower, very low THC, high CBD. Type 2 is anything in between. It's a well-rounded profile. And type 2 used to be all there was. And so getting that, people today, if you smoked weed in the 60s and then you took a break for 50 years and then you came back to the weed scene, it was like, what are you kids smoking today? I can't handle it.
I've heard so many stories.
So many times, yeah.
I've heard so many stories like, oh, the weed ain't like it was back in the day. And it's like, man, what happened?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We pulled the CBD out and we pushed the THC to the limit. And what people don't realize, people think CBD nullifies the effect of THC, and that's not true. What's that?
I said it actually works hand in hand with it.
It totally works hand in hand with it, and it affects different people different ways. But one of the primary things it does is the paranoia, the anxiety, the heart racing, a lot of that stuff that happens to new consumers with THC. CBD calms that down significantly. And so you have people that can't handle 10 milligrams of THC on its own, but you give them 10 milligrams of THC and 100 milligrams of CBD, and all of a sudden they enjoy it. They're like, oh man, this is great. I was laughing my ass off all night. It was fantastic. And I do think for some people, if you've got a high THC tolerance, but you don't consume much CBD, products like ours that are, 10 and 100, I know people that eat 5-10 edibles a day, and they'll eat 1 or 2 of my edibles, and they're like, oh my God, it knocked me out. Like, I don't know what happened. And not everyone has that experience. Some people need to dose as they would with their normal D9 without CBD, but for some people it hits them way harder, and they won't even touch it because they're scared. They're like, oh man, I got way too high. Wow. And it's an interesting phenomenon. And really, back to a point you made way earlier, everyone reacts a little differently to cannabinoids, and everyone's experience is slightly different. So someone will say, well, what's this going to do to me? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like,
I'll tell you what it does to me, but I don't know what it's going to do to you. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I can say at that point. It's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what it's going to do to you, but I mean, I know what it did to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that is crazy. But actually they can piggyback off what you were just saying. I actually recently, like a couple years ago, discovered that not Delta-8, CBD kind of like, calms those, those certain side effects down. And, ever since then, I've actually been mixing CBD flower with my Delta-9 buds, because it's like, I get a nice balance there. A balance that, from what you've explained, used to be there, but is no longer there.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be a nice balance of THC and CBD, and now it's just THC.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
And like now it all makes sense on why people act the way they do nowadays smoking weed compared to the stories that I've heard from back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was there's beer and there's Everclear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to have a couple beers through a night and get a good buzz going, but they don't want to get plastered. Some
Right.
people want to do shots of Everclear until they can't walk straight, but not everyone wants to drink Everclear, right?
Right.
And right now, THC from a dispensary is pretty much all Everclear.
Mm-hmm.
And some people, they don't want to take 2 hits off a joint and be done for the night. They want to smoke a couple joints over the course of the evening
Right.
and maintain a mellow high. They don't want to get trashed.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a time and place.
Yeah, there's a time and place, exactly. And there's not a lot of options when you go to a dispensary like that. All you can do is just do so little that it doesn't affect you that much, but you can't really sit and consume. And we found through Project Hemp Flower that, like you said, a lot of people are buying our product and mixing it with their high THC stuff for a more well-rounded high.
Mm-hmm.
But some people go really heavy on the hemp flower with just a little THC so they can smoke all night long.
Yeah.
And there's a social aspect. Every stoner knows
Mm-hmm.
there's a social aspect of passing the pipe around, passing joints
yeah.
around, laughing, kind of bullshitting with each other.
Yep.
And you lose that when it's like, oh, I took 1 hit and had to go to bed.
Yeah, like we all hit it once, and now it's like, all right, we're gonna put that out and come back to it. And it's like, yeah, you just lost that whole activity right there, that whole connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn, that's crazy. That is really crazy. What else was it? Okay, yeah, here we go. Now the formula for the gummies.
Yeah.
I found that really interesting. Like I was looking on the website and was looking at the frequently asked questions, and I'm like, how the hell is this legal? And you basically broke it down, and it was like the math. So could you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it turns out being American, we're not really good with the metric system, right? People don't understand milligrams versus kilograms very well. Versus grams. People don't understand how to convert things into grams and kilograms, and also it turns out generally people are bad at percents too. And so literally just no one had done the math to say, well, what is 0.3%?
Mm-hmm.
How much quantity do you have to have before you can hit 10 milligrams and still be under 0.3%? And it turns out that number is 3.34 grams. It's really 3.3333, like kind of forever, but 3.34 grams of dry material, meaning with moisture taken out. And you can have 10 milligrams of THC and be below the 0.3 or at 0.3.
Wow.
And we like to leave a little buffer room. So our gummies, dry weight comes out generally about 4.5 grams or more. And so technically we can get 13.5 milligrams of THC per gummy and still be fine. But 10's a nice number that people are used to. So we want to keep it familiar. But also we want wiggle room. We don't want to be so close to the limit that if there's a variation in testing or if there's a variation in the machine or anything like that, that someone could go hot. So most of our products end up about 0.2%, which is only like 2/3 of the legal limit. But yeah, it turns out that 0.3% of 3.34 grams is 10 milligrams.
Wow. Because like you said, we're not good with the metric system. Because when I was reading that on the website, I had to read it like 4 or 5 times because I was just like, wait a minute, how has nobody else thought of this? The Farm Bill has been out since 2014, and then it got revised in 2018. It's been out for a long time, and how has nobody came up with this? All the CBD and hemp products that's out, how has no one came up with this? That was crazy.
It's also a misunderstanding of the legal framework. I see people on Reddit all the time saying, well, if you have 1,000 milligrams of CBD, you can only have X amount of THC because 0.3 of 1,000 is, and I said, hold on. It doesn't matter how much CBD. It's not 0.3 of CBD. It's 0.3 of the whole product. And people, I don't know what it is, but there's some mental obstacle for them to really understand how it works. And they get practically combative when you try to educate them on what's correct because they're certain that they know. And so even in the industry, even in product manufacturers I talk to sometimes, they don't quite understand how it works. And when you explain it to them, they're like, well, I don't think that's how that works. Well, it is. So what else to tell you? So there's bad with metric system, bad with percentages and math in general, and also this weird imaginary mental obstacle that people have created for themselves. They decided a long time ago, 0.3 is nothing, it's a trace amount, you'll never get high off it. But they didn't, and so it's just done. And in their brain, it's done, and they can't reevaluate it.
That's how but I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of how I saw it too. Like, it's like, okay, 0.3%. I'm like, to my knowledge, I'm like, okay, a lot of weed nowadays is like 80, 90% THC. So I'm like, 0.3% THC, that can't be nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, the math behind it is completely different. That's amazing. That's
Awesome.
really amazing.
Yeah,
so basically, to segue into that next question that I had, so how are you able to ship it then? Because when you run into have you ran into any type of roadblocks or any type of issues trying to ship these products?
No, we can be totally transparent with the United States Postal Service, because it is no different than shipping a full spectrum tincture or any other full spectrum gummy. One of the things I think the hemp industry did to its detriment is they hid the amount of THC in their products. A lot of full spectrum tinctures will say 1,500 milligrams CBD, below 0.3% THC, but they don't tell you the milligrams. And what people don't realize is in a full spectrum, like 1,500 or 2,000 milligram CBD product, you probably have about 60 milligrams of THC in that tincture bottle.
Wow.
People just don't do them. Again, they don't do the math, and so they don't think about it. But it really is no more. Now we're definitely playing with the size and the dosing to make things a little more normalized for consumers. But it isn't any different than shipping a tincture or shipping a 25 milligram full spec CBD gummies have about 1 milligram of THC in it. So if you get a jar of 10 25 milligram CBD gummies, you got 10 milligrams of THC in that jar. So if you eat all 10 of them, that's a dispensary grade edible right there.
Right.
Really isn't any different than shipping that to somebody.
Wow. That is really amazing. That is. But you cleared up a lot of air for me right there, because it's like, oh, so that's why a lot of these full spectrum hemp products, that's why they give you a different feeling than something that isn't full spectrum.
Yeah.
I've always wondered that, and it's like, they say 1,000, 1,500. I've even seen one that said like 5,000 milligrams of CBD, and it's like, why do I feel like this when I take the drops? And it's like, oh, there's Delta-8 in there that I did not know about.
Yeah, and then you have the entourage effect too. So when you have a little more THC than you probably thought you had, so there's that. Then that THC makes the CBD more effective, and sort of vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's more impactful in how you feel from it when you add even just a little bit.
Yeah. Man, that is really amazing. Let me make sure I got all my questions. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. This is after seeing the Instagram page. This was one question I knew I had to get this question off. Now, considering your stance on Delta-8, where do you see the future of Delta-8 heading?
I think synthetic, and I hesitate to use the term synthetic because half the industry is going to tell me it's not synthetic, it's isomerized, and they're going to come up with some reason why it's not synthetic. The other half of the industry swears it's synthetic.
By the science that you just told me, the breakdown that you just told me, by my standards, that is synthetic.
It's kind of hard to argue that it's not at this point, but in interest of not frustrating people, I'll say isomerized or created Delta-8. States are going to shut it down one by one, and they can do so. People argue you can't because of the Farm Bill, but people can easily argue, well, if it's created in a lab, that's not necessarily covered by the Farm Bill. And I think states are really hanging their hats on that. Hey, this is a public safety concern, so we're pulling the public safety card to get it and to make it illegal. We already have I don't know what the number is today, but I think it's something like 17 states that have banned manufacturing,
I think like 17.
retail sale of Delta-8. More states are just going to get added to that list. Even if the feds don't step in and stop it, more states will add that to the list. So I think Delta-8 is going to face an uphill battle on the hemp space. I do think that it will continue to live on in the marijuana space, though, because you can essentially create it from Delta-9. So you could take Delta-9 distillate in a marijuana supply chain and make Delta-8 from it, and still get your Delta-8 products for people that legitimately prefer that Delta-8 product. And you can do so in a more cost-effective way because the Delta-9 is, it's you're not starting with CBD, you're starting from Delta-9 already. And the states, I think, will be happier with that in the long term because all the same restrictions they put on marijuana companies for safety and things like that will apply to Delta-8. So I think it's going to hit a huge. It's going to be shut down in a big way for a while, and then we'll start seeing it pop up as an option in dispensaries over time. That's my prediction.
I like that. I think that's a pretty good prediction because the way I'm seeing it, the way as quick as it's being shut down, it's like, wow, they're going hard for this. They're already put an end to all of this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've kind of just been curious about where it's going to go because it's getting shut down fast.
Yeah.
Really fast. But that's an interesting perspective though, because I didn't have that information that the Delta-8 was made from Delta-9 originally.
Yeah.
Like now knowing that information, the future of Delta-8 seems pretty bright.
Yeah.
Once it's actually regulated, I guess.
Yeah, in the right market, absolutely.
Okay, after seeing the gummies and the tincture that you guys had, this was maybe the most the question that was maybe burning the biggest hole in my mind. Where do you go from here? What other products do you intend to create with this new innovation because while it is pretty simple with the math, the way me being a person that just now learning about it, I'm looking like, damn, this is really some innovative stuff right here. So what other products do you see yourself using, implementing this innovation in?
Good question. We're actively developing as many products as we can using this concept because we feel that while I can't say too much of the aforementioned FDA rules, I think that people need this product for a lot of reasons.
Definitely.
And so we want to create different options for those people to consume in a manner that is beneficial for them. And so after gummies, I can tell you one specific product that we're going to launch here probably in about a week to 2 weeks tops. And so you're the first actually to hear about it in a public arena here. The first.
Oh, really?
We're going to have a drink powder. It's
wow.
Powder. You dump it in water and you drink it, and it'll be the one full drink if you do. I think we're going to market it again as like a quarter of a pouch is one serving. But if you drink the entire pouch, it'd be 10 milligrams D9. And in this batch, we're doing a 15-to-1 ratio, so 150 milligrams CBD. And it's bioavailable pretty fast. It kicks in way faster than a gummy. And it's light, it's portable, it's easy to pick up and purchase. It's easy to, it's a little easier to dose too, because if hey, I only want 1 milligram, I'm going to break this out into tenths and do that easier. You could do like a little teaspoon or something, or a third teaspoon, and actually get the dosing you want. So we're excited about that product that's coming very, very shortly here. And I can't say too much about other products, but let's just say we have several in the pipeline.
Okay. That is great. Now, I've tried a lot of products. I've tried syrups, I've tried drinks, I've had CBD water, I've had the tinctures, I've had the gummies. I've had a lot of stuff. I've even had like a roll-on, like a little roll-on, like I had to have like CBD roll-ons you can put on for like aches and pains. Like I've had that in the form of Delta-8 before. And it's like a drink powder. That is something new right there. That is definitely new.
Awesome.
That would definitely change the game.
When we have a full labeled one, we'll make sure to ship you one so you can give us your feedback on it.
Definitely. Now, what I wanted to ask though, because man, you're sold out on the website. Like those are going like hotcakes.
Yeah.
I was trying to get some, but there isn't any on the site available. I was wondering if I could get some of those.
Yeah. So on that note, one we have a different product that's like a gummy but slightly different. They're called pâte de fruit. I think is how you say it. It's French, but it looks like pâté de fruit when you read it.
I saw that on the site.
Yeah, so we have two flavors of pâte de fruits launching. I don't know if we'll get it out today, but by Monday end of day we should have it on the site. And those are handmade, handcrafted, hand cut. There's not even molds that are used. I actually have a longtime friend that makes these, and it's really a craft. This is more a labor of love than a perfect science here. And the batch we have that's launching is 7 milligrams per gummy, Delta-9, and like 111. So these are also 15 to 1. They practically melt in your mouth. It's not like a gummy that you've got to chew it up real hard. You put it in your mouth and it sort of melts into a jelly. Those will be available for purchase by Monday end of day. And then as far as our normal gummies, we have had some manufacturing issues that it boils down to we blew up, right? We blew up really fast. Our manufacturing supply was not quite ready for that type of growth. But we've addressed those. What's that?
They wasn't ready for that kind of volume.
Yeah, not at all. But we've addressed those issues. We were working on the issues beforehand. We just hadn't finished yet. But we've addressed those issues. We found some great partners, and we shouldn't in two weeks. I'm hoping 3 at the worst. We'll be back in stock with gummies, and we should never really be out of stock again after that.
Okay. Wow, that is, oh, man. Wow, that's blowing my mind right now. I've never heard of anything like this, and you know, like you said, you kept this idea in your back pocket. So you know, I'm really interested to see where the rest of the market tends to go once this starts to catch on.
Yeah, me too.
It's gonna be really interesting.
Agreed.
Just judging from everything that you've told me, I can tell you, rest assured, there's a lot of these brands that probably isn't even thinking about stuff like that. Isn't even crunching the numbers that way or anything. So it's like that's innovation at its finest right there.
Well, thanks.
That's about the best way I could put it. That is definitely something else.
Thank you.
That indeed was all my questions that I did have. I did some research, some more research, and looked at other articles and other interviews that you was featured in. Make sure I got some unanswered questions that a lot of people were wondering about, and I definitely hit all those.
Awesome.
Wow, that's crazy. I definitely learned a lot about Delta-8. I'm pretty sure a lot of people that's going to be listening to this when I put it out, they are going to definitely be very appreciative of the education. Because see, a lot of people don't know about Delta-8 enough to where they want to try it, and if they're already using it, it's like, okay, I'm using it, and it isn't affecting me negatively, but I'm still kind of skeptical about it.
Yeah.
And like this.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I don't, I'm not the type of business person that tries to succeed by talking bad about other companies. I just want to show you what I've got going on, and if it's for you, it's for you, and if it's not, it's not. But so I just want to say that my intent isn't to scare anyone away from Delta-8 or talk bad about any companies that are doing Delta-8. But I do think it's important that the facts are out there so consumers can make up their own minds.
For sure. Because it didn't hearing everything that you said, it didn't necessarily negatively impact my opinion on Delta-8, but it definitely makes me take a closer look at the Delta-8 products that I'm getting. I've become more aware of of the situation.
Yeah.
It's more or less of take it with a grain of salt rather than dismiss it all the way completely.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
I do have a feeling though that a lot of people are gonna hear that chemical reaction right there, the CBD to the Delta-9 to the Delta-8, and they're gonna be like, Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That definitely does.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Chris. It was really good talking to you.
Oh, Adam, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and let me know if there's anything else I can answer or do for you. It's been great, and I appreciate your time a lot.
Definitely. Also, keep me updated when you do restock the edibles back on the site, because I definitely gotta get me some. I gotta review them for the podcast.
Yeah, we'll send you a care package when we get some stuff in stock here. I don't know who you were communicating with on. I don't personally run the social media anymore, but I'll make sure they get in contact with you when you've got some. And I think, and you've got my email now anyway, so you can feel free to shoot me an email anytime.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for your time, Adam.
Also want to let you know before you go, you were the first official podcast guest.
Oh man.
I've been holding off on it for a while, just trying to build the brand up a little bit.
Yeah.
And just the simple fact that, I don't know if you've able to tell just yet, but I'm getting better at being comfortable on camera, but I have never been that person that was really comfortable on camera. But I always knew, okay, I got the podcast. I really want video content. I got to do the video content. I can't just do audio.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to break down.
You knocked it out of the park. You're it seems like you're a natural with this. So I think that you should definitely have the confidence to be on video, because you did awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
you're definitely number one. This one, everyone's definitely been waiting for me to do interviews and have guests on the podcast. So everyone's definitely gonna be tuned in.
Great. Yeah, and I appreciate it. It's a real honor to be your first guest. I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate you stopping by for the show, though.
Of course. All right. Well, Adam, thanks again, and I wish you the best, and we'll be in touch soon, I'm sure.
All right. It was good talking to you, Chris.
All right. Good talking to you too. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Damn, Stoner fam, that was nice. That was really nice. We really did the thing right there. We really did the thing. Chris was a good guy. He definitely dropped a lot of knowledge here in this interview. He opened my eyes to a lot of things that a lot of things concerning Delta-8 that I didn't realize that was, that existed. There was a lot of things that, a lot of information that was actually going around that I just wasn't aware of. So that definitely opened my eyes, and I hope it opened you guys' eyes too. Not necessarily to turn you away from Delta-8, but to educate you guys on what Delta-8 is and why there's some such polarity. When you bring up Delta-8, some people's against it, some people isn't. But judging from the conversation with Chris today and getting the origins of the Delta-8, now I see the other side. I understand the other side. I definitely understand the other side. Yeah, man, I was nice. I was really nice. That was the first podcast guest. We clocked in about an hour long. So so make sure you go check that out. I'm gonna have this chopped up all over Instagram, but just know that I'm actually gonna upload this to YouTube. This can be the official first video for the podcast on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on Spotify, or if you're watching a clip of this on Instagram, just know that this video shall be on YouTube. It will definitely be on YouTube. So yeah, we're pretty much gonna end it right there. Yeah, we're gonna end it right there. As a little caveat though, I know a lot of you guys are probably gonna have questions about the shirt that I'm wearing. This is the new Break the Stigma t-shirt. Well, the new design that's gonna be dropping on the Dope Is Real, my clothing brand, if you guys are unaware. It's the new design that's actually gonna be coming out very, very soon. It's gonna be a nice thing to, get the summer started, right? So, shameless plug, if you wanna go and cop you a Break the Stigma shirt, you can go to the link in the bio, or go to thedopeisreal.com and pick you up a Break the Stigma shirt. Support the brand, support the podcast. It helps me continue to bring you guys great content like this. And I will continue to give you guys great content. It's your man Adam from the Joint Talk podcast. We just had Chirs Fontes on here, and he broke down his brand and his company, and as well shed some much very needed light on the Delta-8 game in the market. What did you guys think about this interview? And I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Peace.